Dr. Wilansky, how are you?
I'm great.
I've been waiting months for this conversation. May I have a hug?
Of course.
Okay. It's so good to see you. It's been months.
It has been.
I've been waiting, and you're so busy. I mean, you got so many irons in the fire, so much on your plate, and I just want to thank you for making time for me.
Well, you've been accommodating with my schedule.
Oh, thank you so much. Before you introduce yourself to the audience, I just want to talk a little bit about how when I first met you. So I was doing this video project for graduate medical education at the Mayo Clinic, and I asked the chair of education for a list of people that I could talk to at Mayo who really embodied and exemplified the principles of Mayo Clinic. And your name was at the top of the list, of course. And so I came around and found you there at the hospital, and I asked you to talk about one of the principles that guides how you show up in life and in the practice. And the first time I met you, I was like, I got it. Like what they were talking about you and how kind you were, and just so nice, and your smile when I walked up, and you were just so generous with your time and humble, like super, super humble. And I was like, man, I think after we talked for maybe like 2 or 3 minutes, I said, I gotta have you on the show. I gotta have you on the show, because I just knew that there was some magic there that I wanted other people to be able to learn and grow from. So again, I'm happy to have you here.
Wow. Now I have to live up to that.
Yeah, that's gonna be no problem. It's so easy for you. Wow. So if you could tell the audience who you are, that'd be great, and what you do at Mayo.
Okay, so I'm a staff cardiologist at Mayo Clinic in Arizona. I'm the Associate Dean for Graduate Medical Education in Arizona. I'm a professor of medicine, and I love taking care of patients.
Again, just humble. I mean, I love taking care of patients, and you do. Another story. I walk into your office, and this was when was this? This was only, oh God, maybe
It was just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago. Yes, and I walked in, and I'm looking at your office, and it's warm, it's inviting, and then I'm reading the letters from patients. Wow. I mean, you have literally been just a huge contributor to their lives, to their well-being, to their families, and just reading what they're saying about what you meant for them. I mean, how does it make you feel?
It makes me feel fabulous. For me, the patient interaction is the only way that you get to the bottom of the truth. So you have to relate, which of course you can't relate to absolutely everyone, but you try your hardest every single day. And you have to listen to everything they say. And when they talk about personal things, you got to go with the personal things, because it all feeds into the entire patient issue. I'm very much a part of their lives. I want to know about their joys in life. I want to know about their sadness in life. And then we get down to the business of medicine.
I'm inspired. I'm so inspired right now just listening to you. I mean, oh my goodness. How can I intern on your staff? and I mean it. Like, you want to be around that kind of mindset, that kind of outlook. I know everyone who works with you just loves it. And when I was there the first time to meet you, I just saw the way that everyone greeted you. And it was just, they passed down the hall, everybody met you with a smile. When you passed by, they still were smiling. So it just wasn't for your ego or some kind of intimidation. They were just really, really, you create a team. You were part of a team, and I felt that while I was there. And everyone was so nice to me. Well, I was walking with you, so that helped. So it's just really, really great. This kind of looking for a connection with others. Now, did that start? Well, let's start there. Where are you from, and how did you grow up? The influence of your parents, as well as if you played any sports or did any extracurricular activities, on to med school to the present. Can you walk us through that?
Okay. I was born and bred in Montreal. My dad's a doctor. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, which is a fabulous combination in my opinion. One thing I can honestly say is that I've been loved since the day that I was born. My grandparents adored me. My parents adored me. And I think that really helps.
Yes.
Getting you launched in life, because when you're loved, it's very easy to love back. And my dad was a very smart man, well ahead of his years. He was an endocrinologist and so took care of a lot of diabetic patients. And in the 50s and 60s, his message to all of them was walk.
Mm-hmm.
And he was an avid jogger all of his life. And I was launched into sports as early as I can remember. So I was a figure skater in my very young years, then a little bit of a skier, a dancer, and then I started doing aerobics 5 days a week, and then I became a runner, and now in the golden years, I'm a walker. I'm a power walker.
I love it. I walk the halls with you, and you're like, let's go. Man, that's great. So it started there with your parents. I mean, you were just surrounded and just wrapped up in nothing but love all around you.
Correct.
Wow.
I was very lucky.
Man, yeah, and you can just totally tell that you're grateful for it. Like, it's not something that you take lightly or for granted.
Very grateful.
Yeah, my childhood wasn't like that. My childhood, I felt love. I don't really recall being told I love you by extended family, but not in my immediate family. I knew it from my mom through her commitment to me, to be my best and, leading by example. So I really appreciated that. My stepfather, not so much. He was on his own path and journey, and there's a lot of suffering there. So, I just have so much compassion and empathy for the journey that he was on. But I can totally tell you, the people that I've met, and I haven't met a lot, that have been fortunate enough to be born into a family environment in which they're just surrounded by so much love and grace is amazing. And, just because you have two parents doesn't mean like and I had two, that it's a healthy, loving
Right.
environment. But the fact you had that is incredible.
I have to tell you a sidebar story. So my maternal grandmother and I were closer than any of her other grandchildren, although that was not allowed to be spoken.
Right.
My grandfather said equal for all of the 8 grandchildren. So they lived on the east coast of Canada, and we would spend every Christmas and every summer there. And I'd walk into the house, and of course, everyone was of very modest means in those days, but my grandfather had a safe. And my grandmother would go like this, and she'd take me upstairs and would tell me that she stole $10 from my grandfather's safe just for me.
Wow, see, you were the favorite.
I was.
Man, so you guys had an incredible bond, huh?
Yes.
Was she, did you always have, of your family, who's the one that you felt like you could talk to if you had a hard time or confide in?
No, that wouldn't be my grandmother. She was a very nurturing grandmother. In fact, so nurturing that we named our daughter after her.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Annie. Who did I confide in my youth? I probably took turns depending on the issue with my parents.
With your parents. Wow, and they were just incredible role models, huh?
Yes.
Work ethic, commitment to family, commitment to each other.
They're still married 62 years later.
Yeah, that's commitment. And very much just not just cohabitating and coexisting. They are still a great partnership and team, huh?
Great partnership and team.
Wow, that's just beautiful. That's just beautiful. Now, you are an extremely good listener. Who did you get that from?
Probably both my parents. I would say that in my growing up years, we would have learning sessions. And I would study
I love this.
psychology with my mother, and also theater of the absurd. She was very into theater. And my dad was a bit of a philosopher, so we would read books together like The Art of Loving and The Art of Listening. And so that played in a lot into my formative years.
Wow. Yeah, man. Can I say something right now? I knew this was going to be good, and we're just getting started. I don't know if I'm going to contain myself. You're really, really good. I'm so happy you're on the show. I cannot tell you this. Oh, wow. Okay. What has shaped you to be the way you are? What are some of your practices that you do on a regular basis that help you be your best and show up the way you want to show up for others and for yourself?
Well, again, a lot is environment. I have the most supportive husband on the planet Earth, and he has supported me for all of our 30 years of marriage and even earlier than that. That helps. That makes you leave the house every morning in a fantastic framework. I'm not saying life is perfect, right? There's
Right.
struggles every single day with whatever, but that's a really big part of how I leave the house. He wakes up with a smile every single day.
Every day.
Every single day.
Isn't that the best?
And that gets contagious because I can be a little bit cranky in the morning, you know?
Right. And he's right there with a smile.
Right there with a smile.
Every day.
Every day.
Okay, I gotta ask you this. How'd you guys meet? You know, now that we're kind of open this door, like, how did you meet? And, you know, because some people maybe want to know, like, how do I find someone like that? So how did you guys meet?
Well, it's a bit of a long story. I'm not sure if you actually want to hear the whole story.
I want to hear it.
Okay, so we were boyfriend and girlfriend from 18 to 24 in Montreal. He then went off to do his thing. I took a sidebar and worked at Club Med for a year before I got into medical school.
Interesting.
That was fun.
I bet it was.
I lived my fantasies of wanting to be a rock star.
Right, this is great.
And so we separated for 10 years. And then
10?
10.
Wow, okay.
By that point in time, I was already in training. I had finished medical school. And his sister was getting married, and I remained friends with everyone in the family. And his mother actually flew to Toronto to convince me that I had to go to his sister's wedding, knowing that that would get us together again. And that's what happened.
Wow.
And 1.5 years later, we were married.
So when you were reunited, so to speak, did you feel the connection?
Complete and total.
Preach, do tell. So it was immediate.
Immediate.
God, I love this. I love a good love story.
It's a great love story.
Yes, it is. Wow, 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 wow. And so what I'm also noticing or hearing is that this nurturing, full of love, rich environment that you were born into, that's the same environment you and your husband created for Annie to be born into.
Right. And he has 2 children too. And I think having kids also provides you with, I mean, you learn by the seat of your pants, but all you can do is nurture.
Right.
So it's a very enriching experience having children.
Yes, wow, it's so great. So you used to figure skate. How was that?
It was a lot of fun.
When's the last time you've been on the ice?
Oh, every now and again, when we lived in Houston, there was a rink in one of the malls, and I'd take Annie skating.
Oh, sweet. Okay, I like that. And then you got into running. How did you like running?
I liked it a lot.
Okay. So for me, what exercise does is, in my younger years, I just looked at exercise as a way to stay fit, be healthy. I guess I wasn't present to the benefits that I got from it in terms of mental, increasing my focus, heightening my ability to retain information. I didn't quite get that, or the mood boost. I didn't feel any of that, or I'm sure it was happening, but I just wasn't aware of it because I was so focused on what it was doing for me from a physiological standpoint and just being more fit. And now I start every one of my days off with some kind of movement, some kind of exercise, and it is a game changer with my mood. I am not a person who is like naturally inclined to be super nice, super happy in the morning. Hey, good morning. That's not normally me. But after a set of push-ups, a set of squats, it comes. Like, it just really elevates my mood. What has exercise done for you in terms of the benefits?
Well, I can honestly say that in the early years, it was the fitness thing and looking buff and all of that. And now, there are many days that I have to talk myself into going out for a walk or whatever it is that I'm going to be doing. But by the time I'm done, I feel so much better mentally that I'm now feeling the psychological effects more.
You know, when one of our colleagues, Dr. Noel, he was talking about, like, he exercises in the morning and he exercises after work, and he talks about he may be ruminating over something that's happening at the hospital or something he's working on, a project that he's working on. And one thing that he said is that exercise takes him out of himself and out of those thoughts. He's able to come back after an exercise session and have a more even keel mood and be able to approach the problem from a different perspective. And he said it does wonders for him. Have you noticed that after you may be working on a project or doing something at work, and you go for a walk and you come back with a different perspective or outlook on it? Has that happened with you?
It's interesting that you say that, because I notice that on days that I go for walks after work, I spend that whole 45 or 50 minutes going over things that have happened during the day and sort of putting them in the right place or solving a problem. So definitely.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen when I do it on my morning walks, but it definitely does
happens.
after work.
Wow. Yeah, I just think it's so important. What are some other things that you do that are rituals or habits that consistently keep you at your best? Obviously, starting off the morning with your husband helps every single day. Is there anything else that you do that you're purposeful for, or you may have started out as intentional, but now it's just natural? Like, Keith, I have to think about it because it's just so like natural for me. I don't even think about it as being something I have to be intentional about.
Well, there's a lot of things that are no longer intentional,
Mm-hmm.
but one of the new things I've started every morning, more for orthopedic issues than anything, is I do a little bit of stretching, and I find that that's a very good way to start the day.
Absolutely, no question about it. So I want to talk a little bit more about the influence of your circle, the people around you during some of the most challenging times of your life. So professionally, I have the opportunity right now to work with medical school students, and I'm excited about the opportunity to work with residents and fellows too. In doing so, I know they are like, listen, I am super busy now. I really don't have time for exercise. And some of the professionals that are already doing what that are 20, 30 years into their careers, wanted me to make the point, like, if you think you're busy now, you just wait. So you need to make that a part of your life now. So when I say that, they're dealing with some challenges now. How did you deal with some of your biggest challenges doing med school or doing your residency and training? And who did you call when you were at that moment of, I don't know if I should be here, what am I doing here, or am I going to graduate? I mean, what was it for you?
Medical school is probably one of the biggest challenges that anyone will face in medical school, in their career. I called my father on a regular basis. It was a choice of eating a Snickers bar, or on many occasions I would call and say, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. And he would say, jog, and hang the phone up on me. And that was a reminder to put the Snickers bar down and go out for a run, which often helped. But you have this situation where you feel very guilty about taking that time for yourself,
Right.
when you should be studying, because what if you don't pass the next exam? And it's very difficult. It's very difficult to incorporate it into your life, particularly at that stage. It gets easier over time. Clearly, there are times that you're on call way too much and you're too tired to exercise, which probably, walking would be okay, but any
Right.
major cardiovascular work
Right.
wouldn't be. But it's a battle. It's a battle that is worth winning.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Speaking about medical school and the stress that you're on and the pressure, I was recently watching a documentary and they were talking about not just students in higher education, but also high school students, how they have really started to use outside aids and drugs in their exchanging them to help them stay focused and to be more productive and things like that. And they're starting to uncover some of the costs of that kind of activity. And I just think exercise is such a healthy alternative to that. What would you say to that?
So are you talking, for instance, about this
Ritalin.
epidemic of ADD
Yes,
drugs?
yes.
Oh, it's very scary.
It's
very scary. I mean, probably there's a role for people that have severe learning disabilities, but I think it's very abused.
Yes.
I think it's very abused.
Yeah, I think I'm just a big proponent of trying to do everything as naturally and as healthy as possible first. And so I think, hopefully there's some, people will start to engage in that more who maybe, feel the pressure of having to do that. What do you do when it comes to pressure? How do you deal with it?
Oh, that's a tough question. I fret a lot. I was born fretting, so I fret more. And I'll often speak to colleagues if I'm in a situation with a patient that I think I could benefit from someone else's knowledge. That's the beauty of Mayo Clinic, is that there's always someone to talk to.
Yes.
You have an echo. I read ultrasounds of the heart, so if there's a tough echo that you want someone's opinion, there's always someone there that you can ask, and just colleagues in general help. And we do that a lot with each other.
Yeah, Mayo is huge in collaboration. I was talking to one of our colleagues, Dr. Wilansky, and she was telling me that one of the greatest pieces of advice that she got was in her growth professionally and personally, was somebody suggested that she get a professional coach to help her see the blind spots and things like that to help her grow. And she said it was like life-changing for her because she just really started to become, and she's amazing, as we both know, but
Right.
even more so. I mean, she's like, I became a better listener. I stopped taking things, personally, and really started to consider all the people around me. And I think she is so skilled in collaborating with others. And she really takes that responsibility as an opportunity for everyone to win. What would you say to, one of the biggest things that's made a difference in your life in terms of your own growth? Was it still just carrying the lessons from your parents and grandparents forward with you today? Or have you worked with someone like a coach or something like that in the past?
I have not worked with a coach, although I'm now referring a lot of our students to use the facilities that we have. I'm very excited about all of your programs, as you know.
Oh, thank you.
I just didn't come from the generation where going to a coach was thought about. You just dealt with it, right?
Right.
And so I think, you just keep on learning throughout life. Okay, this is a bad reaction. Let's not do that. Let's learn from this one and move on to the next situation. I wouldn't be adverse for it. It's just not my language.
Right. And you have an incredible team around you. Like, I've met some of your team. How do you choose your team? What do you look for? How does it come together? I look at when you and I started to work on this, along with Dr. Chester, on this research project that we're going to do to support residents and fellows. When we were doing that, I just looked at you, started putting out names that are going to be part of this team that we had and why you were choosing them. Like, what goes into you choosing a team? I mean, I'm sure it's beyond just what their resume looks like on paper. Like, what goes into that?
No, I'm a very intuitive person. And so, often at Mayo, the teams are formed. Like, for instance, I work in the echo lab, which is doing ultrasound of the heart. And there's already sonographers and nurses there, et cetera, and we're very lucky that it's a fabulous situation. But if I'm picking my own team, it's more not what's on paper, it's how I relate to the person, how they relate to others, et cetera, et cetera.
You're good at it. I mean, excellent at it. Have you always been gifted in that way?
Well, I don't know that I would call it a gift, but I'm pleased with my career so far and my personal interactions.
Right. How do you deal with conflict? Like, let's say there is an issue on the team or with staff. How do you deal with that?
Well, I've become a pro at that in my new position, actually. Again, it's a matter of listening to all sides, hearing what they're really saying, because sometimes there's a message, a subliminal message, that is not coming out with words, but there is. So it's just basically listening to all sides and then trying to come to some resolution. You don't always win, but you try your hardest.
You just try your hardest too. Yeah, so I got another question. Hopefully it's okay to ask. And I'm taking this class over at ASU, and it's called Psychology of Gender. And so I consider myself to be pretty respectful regarding both genders, male and female, just treating everyone, equally in the way that I want to be treated. That's kind of my rule of thumb. Being female in the medical profession, have you experienced sexism? Have things changed? what would be a message for both males and female medical school students as well as residents and fellows?
That's a very interesting question, because as a woman in medicine for a long time, I have never, ever felt gender bias. I certainly have counseled many cardiology trainee on gender bias because I think it's out there. I've been very lucky, and I just think about my days in Houston. So I worked at the biggest medical center in the country for 12 years. And I joined a hospital of 100 male cardiologists, all of whom were invasive cardiologists, and I was the only one that was non-invasive. And for 6 months, I only spoke when I was spoken to get a feel for the environment. And eventually I got integrated very happily. So that was not a gender bias thing at all for me, but it was an unusual situation to be in. I think there is so much greater consciousness today about gender issues that it's getting less and less. But honestly, I do feel, talking to trainees, that women almost feel like they have to be a little bit better than men.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah. So, I mean, I just love the role that you are playing at Mayo. I love the role you're playing in my life. I'm so excited to work with you. Like,
me too.
I was telling Tamara Carey, who's the chair of education, like, it's like a dream come through. I mean, like, it's like you've been like drafted. Seriously, it's like I've been drafted by John Wooden, you know, like the greatest coach ever, you know. It's like, oh my God, I get to be on this team. Like, it's amazing. Like, I'm super, can you tell I'm excited?
Yes, but we're just as excited.
Oh, thank you. It's gonna be so much fun. So I just got one more question for you. What would you like your legacy to be?
That is such a tough question. For me, on a smaller scale, I hope that our kids can recognize me as a role model. I know they do already, and they do their dad similarly. So in the microcosm of things, I would say that our children are probably the most important. But I look at all of the fellows that I've trained over the years, and there are a gazillion of them, and the fact that they call me, they send me pictures of their babies, they call me if they have a tough case that they want to review, and still call me with interpersonal or career questions. That, for me, is my legacy.
Yeah, man, you're still like touching lives.
Everybody's mama.
And I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. Dr. Wilansky, thank you for taking time to talk to me today and to share with the audience. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.